for another interview, a Resilient Soul series interview. And I have with me this evening Jacqueline, and we are going to talk about her full body method. So we're going to focus on self-care for the next 20 minutes or so. And so if you have any questions or you want to chime in, just feel free to put your questions in the chat down below. And so I am going to let Jacqueline introduce herself. So tell us who you are.
Yeah, hi. So I'm Jacqueline, but you can call me Jackie. And I've actually been in the health and fitness industry for over 38 years and been a personal trainer for 18 years, although I like to call myself a holistic movement coach. I do work with stress and autoimmune diseases, and this is what I specialize in. Pretty much built from my own story of gaining 15 kilos and a racing heart rate from stress.
Mm, yeah, I can relate to that. So we are going to just talk a little bit about you and your mission. I know that you help women 50 and beyond understand their bodies and regain their strength and energy and feel confident in their health again. And I know that there's so many people in my Facebook community who do struggle sometimes or even daily, really, with um, with their health, issues with their health. So if you want to, why don't you tell us a little bit about your full body renovation method?
So basically, what happens is, and it's mainly from sort of 40s, we start to go through perimenopause, menopause, and I am not a menopause coach. I just work with menopausal women as a byproduct of stress issues. So basically, the full body renovation method came about because I started to gain weight, even though I knew what to do. And I didn't understand why I started to gain this weight. I started to go through perimenopause, menopause. But the full body renovation method was basically built from me actually building my own program from it, becoming a health practitioner. I didn't get any answers from the doctor. They just said to me, oh, well, it's just one of those things, you're going through menopause, things slow down, the doctor I'm talking about. Um, and you start to gain the middle age spread round your middle. You start to gain weight round your middle. And I thought, well, I don't think it is. And so I basically attended a seminar. And they started talking about perimenopause, menopause, and stress, and how your body doesn't have a sense of humor. It just
Mm,
basically adapts to what is going on with you. And I say that quite often, your body really doesn't have a sense of humor. And so really that's how it was born. So if you think about a car, what happens is your car is smoking, you're from your exhaust, you're going down the road. And so therefore you go into the garage, they wave the diagnostics over it, and then they say, well, this is wrong with it, that is wrong with it. So that's what I do. The full body renovation method is really working out what is going on with your body, you yourself understanding your own body and what's going on, and then coming up with a solution to be able to fix it like you would with your car, right?
yes. Yeah. And so I know that you were in the fitness industry and you said that, you gained weight and you like I guess stress related weight gain and maybe hormonal shifts. Do you think you might have experienced a little bit of burnout?
Yeah, so I burnt out. So I was training up to 10 people a day. I was in quite a toxic relationship, and I've actually worked with a lot of women, and I was really on the tipping point. I had high cortisol. So there's a lot about cortisol now, people talking about cortisol. And so basically, and a lot will be with your own DNA and other factors and things like that. But basically, I had that tested, and I don't really believe in doing a whole load of testing. I think that you can do testing, but it's really also about coming up with a solution in regards to the person. But
Yeah.
generally, palpitations are things that are a common thing. And so I basically burnt out. And I just, I just started to gain weight. I felt sluggish. I couldn't even get out of bed in the morning. I was just so tired. And at the time, I had my in-person studio, and I would, I had a separate studio from the house, and I'd go out and I'd say, "Hello, how are you today?" Okay. And then I'd go in and I'd be like, and the kids would say to me, "Why is it you're always tired?" It's because I had to put my A game on all of the time. And then the
Hmm.
rest of the time I was exhausted. And I want to empower women that sometimes we sort of run back and forth, spinning plates, if you like,
Hmm.
looking after everybody else and then putting ourselves on the back burner and feeling consistently guilty about that.
Right, we do. And I really like how you brought up the fact that you just tried to power through and you put up a good front. Because that's one of the myths I think in midlife is that if you just try harder, you know, you can do this and you can do that, or the opposite, like the doctor says, well, that's what happens. You're getting older, you're in midlife, or you're going through your change or whatever. What do you think um, that it's so common for us to kind of feel like we're the ones at fault? We try to blame ourselves, or we try to do more to try to compensate for what's going on. And, you know, it's, and like you said about the doctor, going to the physician and their advice and their diagnosis just doesn't seem to be right. And there is so much that we can do. So why don't you just and you mentioned this when you filled out the paperwork about us not being broken or being, there's not that there's necessarily something wrong. It's just something that needs to be fixed or adjusted.
Yeah, that's right. And I mean, look, I do blood chemistry analysis as part of my program. And from the bloods, I can see if there's an autoimmune response, as in, i.e., is it showing from that? But I mean, normally, whenever I speak to people, they say, I know that something's going on. And look, if you're actually dying of a heart attack, you can't take a multivitamin, right? So we do need doctors. But really, I think the thing is that it's all about if you move less and if you eat less and move more, but if your body's not working correctly and there's something going on with your metabolism, and I've worked a lot with women who have already got an autoimmune disease like fibromyalgia, polymyalgia, lupus, so they've already got a compromised metabolism. It's actually about working with that and just doing one or two things to change those things. So I think there's a lot of information out there that just try harder, but it's not about trying harder, it's about working smarter. Okay,
Yeah.
so I'll give you a classic example of somebody who was under stress, and that's the day they go to the gym and they meet that trainer. And the trainer says, well, you've put loads of weight on, you just need to put the fork down, eat less, and then let's do step ups and boxing. And the person's already under stress already. So my job is really to get the body calming down first, okay, and getting it to start to work with you, not against you. So it's not broken. It's a bit like going back to the car. That's why I called it a full body renovation method, like a car, fixing the car. Um, is that if the spark plugs are not working correctly, you're probably not going to get far. If
Hmm.
lots of different factors come into it. So it's really understanding that it's a complex thing. So just think it just because your friend, you know, dropped, I don't know, 20 pound in 12 weeks doesn't necessarily mean to say you're going to be able to, because you're not
Hmm.
her. You've got to
Right.
understand yourself as an individual, and I look as a person, as an individual, as a unit. But through education, it's understanding what is going on with them. So, no, I think that you can pull a lot back and you can actually get your body to work as a tool,
Hmm.
to become more efficient because being healthy and fit is a means to an end. So we can actually make it round the supermarket without a walker, put our luggage in the overhead locker or pick things up, do our shopping, play with our grandkids, play with our kids. That's why we become healthy and fit, right?
Yeah, yeah. Yes, I agree with you on that. And I know when I was going through some issues, I mean, I was in my late 20s when I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia. Because on paper I looked great. They did the blood work and all this, and I looked great. So they really couldn't pinpoint, something that was a problem. So I got diagnosed with fibromyalgia. And, being able to understand that it's more than just going to the doctor. I mean, the doctor tries to fix it with medication. And
Medication, yeah.
yeah, and a lot of times our bodies don't respond well to that medication. I know mine didn't. They had me on a whole bunch of stuff until I finally had so many side effects that I had to go off of most of it and go and search more natural things. And so um, we talk about putting ourselves first and making ourselves a priority, you
Yeah,
know?
that's right.
And for women, 50, 55, 60, 65, sometimes they feel guilty doing that, or they feel like they don't have time. And so, where can they begin?
I
Where
think the
is
thing
a good
is
place to
that we're
start?
prioritizing, you've got to think about your goals, but also think about, you want to spend time with your family. What do you want to do with your life? Do you want to be able to spend time with your family? Do you want to be able to actually get off the beach? Yeah, or get off the couch. It's not a weight thing. It's a mobility thing. It's being able to get your body working efficiently. Do you see what I mean? So somebody who's got fibromyalgia, obviously you've got limitations, and you were diagnosed quite early on, and it is very much an invisible illness. And it's only now it's coming to the forefront. But I think what I found working with women, it's really they have to take responsibility. So if you think, okay, I don't want to die young, or I don't want to be in a wheelchair, or I don't want to not be able to do things with my family, because that's the thing. You want to be able to do things. So this is where it's taking responsibility for it and say, the reason why I'm going to do these things is because of this. And so then you take responsibility for it, and some weeks are going to go good and some weeks are going to go bad. It's if you fall off the horse or the wagon, just get back on.
Yeah,
Okay. It's
yeah,
it's just about being consistent. Just being as consistent as you can, because this is your life at the end of the day. Things
yeah,
happen. You know, can you do this? Can you do that? I get that all the time with my children. Can you do this? They're adults. So can you do this? Can you do that? Can you just no, well, I can't. I'm busy. I'm doing other things. So I think it's really about prioritizing themselves, because if you don't, you can't really look after other people or have a long, fulfilling life if you don't actually do that.
mhm,
Um, but it's also understanding them. So say, so for instance, somebody like you has got fibromyalgia, you've got to be quite careful when it comes to the exercise, because your recovery is a lot harder.
mhm.
So you've already got an autoimmune response. And so you've got to sort of look at those other factors as well. You can't go out all out doing really intense exercise. You've got to think about what you're going to be doing with your exercise. Do you see what I mean? So there's so many
Yes.
different factors involved. There's so many different
Well,
variables.
yes, I agree with you. And you mentioned a little bit ago about working with your body,
Yeah,
not
working with your
against
body.
it, work with it. And When you say that full body renovation method, that almost sounds a little scary, full body renovation, um, and it's to help people move from surviving to thriving. Where do you start? Because I know we have to kind of start small or be selective in where we start. If someone's listening tonight and they're thinking full body renovation, how can you help them just take that first step? Maybe even something they can do this week to begin to shift their momentum.
I think the thing is, the main thing is, first of all, sitting down, and I use journals a lot, and just sit down and just have a bit of a brainstorm and think, what is it that I want? Where do I want to go? Am I now? Where am I now at the moment? And where do I want to go? And what are one or two things that I could change now to get me close to my goal? And it might be just, I mean, and with me, obviously, I do quite a big pre-screen first. I get different reports. I get structural reports if they've got injuries. Someone who's got fibromyalgia. I do quite a big analysis of that, and I'm quite careful with the exercise. But it might be looking at their nutrition, or it might be just having time for themselves. Going for a walk on the beach. Just going from the letterbox to the front door and back. It might be just starting small. It's doing one or two things on a consistent basis, on a regular basis. Okay, so I sort of attack it from different ways. So I look at the blood chemistry. It's about reducing that stress, and that might be more around them having the time for themselves. I do use deep breathing as a technique in regards to retraining the inner core, which I've not spoke about today. That's why I like a chassis of the car. Okay, so using breathing and some other techniques. So that helps reduce stress, obviously around their mindset and everything like that, and through nutrition. So I sort of attack it from all different ways. But somebody listening to this, I would say, first of all, just get a piece of paper and just sit down and start to write what is it that you want to achieve? What's your main goal? And what's it going to look like? Is it because you want to be able to have that time with your family, or what is it? Because people can come with a hiss and a roar, but you can only go so far in motivation. You have to
Yeah.
you have to be invested in doing something about it. So I would start with doing that, and then maybe starting to go out for a walk, just having that downtime so that then the body starts to relax. It starts to actually take the brakes off, because as I said at the beginning, your body doesn't have a sense of humor, and it really doesn't give a toss whether you want to lose weight, get fit, or feel better. It just adapts, and that will be based on whether you're a fight or flight or a rest and digest type of person. And if you've got an autoimmune disease already, you've really got to give it time to be able to take the brakes off, and it can say, I'm all right, I can come out now. Okay. So it's about just doing one or two things, starting with what you want to achieve, and then, maybe just having that downtime, starting to do crafts, doing something you enjoy doing that
Yeah.
makes you feel good, that makes you feel energized, and stay away from things that really drag you down, because that's just going to increase your stress. I had to literally look at my life. I had to say to my family, look, I'm going to have to cut back my work because I'm just too tired. I'm just exhausted. And they said,
Hmm.
oh, but you're earning money. I said, well, you go do it then, because I can't keep being like the
Yeah.
ever ready bunny, right?
Yeah.
You've got to do something about it, because otherwise what will happen is that your body will adapt and adapt and adapt and adapt. And then before you know it, you'll be on all this medication, and your body will just be like this.
That
Yeah.
that was my turning point. Being on all that medication and my body was just rebelling. I
Yeah.
ended up actually on a 3 month medical leave from work because of that. I was just a big ball of nerves, depression, and pain, and it was debilitating. So I know that you have this thing called a 5 day full body renovation tune up test drive. So right there
Yeah.
is a good starting point. So why don't you tell us about that? Because I know that you're going to be offering that for our community, and we'll put the link for them to be able to get access down below. So tell us about that little test drive.
So really, the test drive is just starting with those journaling, really just mainly covering where your stress is coming from, understanding about stress, right down to trying to get your body into a resting state, okay, over the 5 days. And I give you little tasks, and really you get to be coached by me. So you actually get to test drive what it would be like to work with me. Okay, so that's what that
Yeah,
is. And it is quite interactive because you actually get real-time coaching with me with this 5-day challenge. But it's just doing one or two tasks that I get you to do, and it's starting to understand what is going on. Okay, and the feedback that I've got from working with women is say, oh, crikey, I didn't realize that stress was just having such of an effect on me and what was work, but obviously understanding that then if they've got issues, I don't cover the exercise in there, but I do look at several different things over the 5 days. So it's just one or two tasks that are achievable that they can actually do and start to
yeah,
really understand that it's not in their mind. I'm sure you realize this yourself. It's not in your mind. Your body's starting to work against you, and you need to sort of basically pull it back and
yeah,
get it to start to work with you. But going back to the tune-up, when I said about that inner car work, which I don't really talk much about, but the inner car, which is like a chassis of the car, that's why the full body renovation is a bit like as a tune up. I always tie it to as if, you're working with a car. It's actually a tune up. It's actually tuning up your body, starting to get it to work for you, and then you can build on that going forward. Does that make
yes.
sense?
It does make sense. And I think we all know how our cars run when there's something that's not working. And it is, even the smallest thing could make a huge difference when you're trying to keep a car going, like a spark plug or whatever, I guess. I don't know if cars still have spark plugs or not, but um, being able to fix that one little thing can make all the difference in the world. So I really appreciate you kind of giving us a clue into your full body renovation method and sharing a bit about your story and offering this tune-up kit for our listeners. And so I want to I think you gave me some links to where they can reach out to you. You've got a YouTube channel too, so we'll put the
Do
link to
have a
that down
YouTube channel.
below.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yep. And so, anyway, is there anything else you'd like to say before we sign off tonight?
I was just wanted to say is that if going back to the car analogy, if something goes wrong with our car, we spend a fortune to being able to
We
fix it as
do.
soon as possible. So think about it. If you were going to do that with your car, why wouldn't you do that with your own body?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you listen? If you don't feel that everything is right, you know your own body. You're the one that's actually sitting inside your body. Nobody else is. You are. You're the person sitting inside of it. So, if somebody says to you, "Oh, your car's not working properly. You need to go to the garage and get it fixed." So, if you're feeling that about your body, then there's a reason for it. It's not in your mind.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
your age. It's not because you're aging. It's not because of the fact you're going through perimenopause or menopause. There's something wrong. The engine is
Yeah.
broken. It needs fixing.
Yep. And there's something that can be addressed. Even the smallest things can make
That's
a
right.
big impact. So
Yeah.
thank you. And I especially like the autoimmune strategist. I feel like people with autoimmune disorders really need that support because autoimmune disorders are not textbook cases.
No, they're
Every
not.
person is individual.
That's
And
right.
so that's one of the reasons why I wanted to interview you, is because I haven't, I mean, I'd say lots of us, I don't know what the statistics are, but most of us probably
In
do
the
have
thousands. in the thousands. There's in the thousands. I know groups in the UK and Australia where you're looking at 20, 30,000 people in a group that have got fibromyalgia. Now that's just one. And then you
Yeah,
look at lupus, other ones. So it's an invisible illness. And so, you're probably quite frustrated with the fact that it's an invisible illness. And so it's a bit like issues with the gut and things. It's only now it's starting to come into the mainstream. Do you see
yeah.
what I mean? So it is frustrating. So just understand that you're not on your own and there is ways to get to improve it.
Yes, yes. And those of you who are watching or catching the replay, if you need an autoimmune strategist, someone to just listen to you and help you sort out some of the most minute details, join Jackie. Um, Click on the link so that you can get in contact with her. And she is going to be able to help you move forward.
Yeah. Thank you very much for that.